Hi friends, this is Shekhar Srinivasan, the .NET trainer and an architect. In this video, we will try to understand BootStrap 3 tables. Now let me just try to open Visual Studio .NET. In case if you are not aware of how to add Bootstrap and how to work with the grid system of Bootstrap, check out my other video on understanding Bootstrap grid system. Now let me just try to add a form. Now my requirement is I just wanted to understand how to work with the tables. For that, let me just try to quickly create a table with the support of Zen. I wanted to have a table with 5 rows and 7 columns with some dummy data. So this is going to generate a table with some 5 rows and 7 columns. Now let me just try to make this as a startup page. And let me just try to quickly execute this. So this is going to display the table with 5 rows and 7 columns. Now in case if you wanted to specify that I wanted to use a Bootstrap for beautifying this table layout, then what we can do is within the head section, let me try to drag and drop the Bootstrap file. Once I have this Bootstrap file, in order to say that this is going to be a table, I try to use a class called as table. Once I just use a class called as table, we can just try to observe it. This is occupied the complete 100 place. Without Bootstrap, you could have just observed it. This is how the display is. Once I said that this is going to be a table, you could have just observed it, what is the change that has made. Now you can just try to see that there is no borders available. In case if you wanted to add borders for the table, then I can simply say table bordered. Now let me just try to refresh it. You can see that the table has been added with the borders. Now in case if I try to hover this, if I wanted to provide some kind of small difference in the colors, then I just try to add one more class for this called as table hover. Now you can see that whenever I just move the mouse onto an element, automatically the background is getting a little bit darker. And if you just try to observe it, there is some space that are added to this particular table. Now what we can do is, if you don't want that particular space, I can simply say table condensed. Now once I try to execute it, you can see that the additional spaces what we had, that space got removed. In this way, what we can do is we can try to simplify a table and use this particular thing. Now say that I wanted to use the same thing in my ASP.NET grid control. For that, let me just try to quickly add a class and some items. I try to add a new ASP.NET folder app code. Let's say that I wanted to add an item called as a class, for example department, and within this department, let's say that I would like to provide some properties, department number, location. Assume that I wanted to have some data and I wanted to use it. So let me try to add a new web form. Now within this particular form, Assume that I try to place a grid view control. And for this grid view control, let's say that the data we will get it from this thing. So within the page load, I try to create a collection for the departments. Let me just use a collection initializer to quickly add the data. So I'm just trying to add some couple of records for this thing so that we can observe the differences properly. Assume that these are the three departments which are there for us. So once I have this information, say that I try to provide this as a source for my grid. I say data source equal to my departments gridview1.databyte. Assume that this is the data. Now let me make this particular web form as a startup page and let me execute. By default, you can just try to observe it. This is how your normal data is displayed. I just wanted to apply the bootstrap for this grid view control. Then what I can do here is the same methodology. First, I try to take the bootstrap.css onto my form. Once I place the bootstrap.css onto the form, next what I try to do is, for this grid control, we have a property called as CSS class, where I use the bootstrap class called as table. You can just try to observe it. Automatically it has applied that style. Table, I just simply say border. It will render a border for the table and I just use table hover. Once I just specify this, now if I try to execute it, for our ASP.NET Grid View control, you can see that the same effect you are going to get. This is by default our ASP.NET Grid. Once I just applied the bootstrap style for this, we can just have it. In case if you wanted to provide some different shades for the alternating rows or anything, then what we can do here is we can just try to take the support of alternating row style and you can just specify the style what you wanted to apply. So I have a class called as success, danger, warning, etc., where you can just use it for providing the details. Now if I just try to refresh it back, we can see that the record has been applied with this. If you have one more record, then automatically we can see the differences in a proper manner. Hope you are clear with how to use the bootstrap tables. Check out for the other videos on bootstrap as well as ASP.NET MVC in my YouTube channel. So please subscribe my YouTube channel www.youtube.com/shakeronline for you. In case if you have any queries, you can send me a mail to my mail ID shakeronline4you@gmail.com. Thank you.